Hello and welcome. Today we're going to have a little bit of a change of pace because the last 16 or 17 videos have been all about the little 3018 CNC router and laser upgrades and how it operates. So we're having a little bit of a change of pace and we're going to go to the big stuff. I'm going to demonstrate the two modes that the laser operates in, and that is scanning and tracing. That's the only two modes it actually works in. Everything else a laser will do is just those two modes and different settings for different effects. So I'm going to show you two types of effects today, and we will, for our first subject matter, we're going to use this dragon as it's a nice line drawing. So we're going to use the two methods that the laser operates in to lay this down on. I think we're going to use a little bit of plywood. So the first thing to do, and I have shown you in other videos, is when you get an image, you need to only have black or white. Now I use GIMP to do that. Now that's another subject and another video all on its own of preparing an image for the laser. So if you look back in some of my other videos, I have actually shown you how to do that. So today is all about the settings of the laser and how to actually burn this down. Because that's what you do with lasers, is whatever a laser does, it burns it away. It evaporates the material, or it evaporates it so quickly that it actually burns the material or changes the material to a charcoal state if you go black, or a darker color than what the original surface color or untouched material is. So these are subject matter for this one, and we will do a more complex one a little bit later. And when I say a more complex one, I do mean something like this one, for instance. So there's two files that we're going to use as a picture file. And that is a bitmap file. Alright, so the laser program sees bitmaps. It also sees DXF files. DXF files are vectors. Okay, line drawings. Now, I use, there's a couple of programs I use to get vectors, and that is basically either any of the 3 programs of Carveco or any of the 6 programs of Vectric. I use Vectric Aspire, and I also use Carveco extensively. And for the laser, I use Laser Cut 6.1. Okay, so here's Laser Cut. Now I'll bring you in a little closer so you can see more of the screen and less of me. To import a picture, you just come up here to, let me see, import. And the first one we're going to import, we're going to scan this image with the laser. This one here. For scanning images, you need a BMP, and there it is there. So we're going to hover over it and left click, and come to one edge so that, see, the cursor changes to a cross. Right click, size. Now we want to make this quite a lot smaller because it's only a, you know, sort of a test image. So we're going to go, now make sure the lock scale is on, otherwise it's going to go out of shape. So we're going to go to 125. Oh, we'll take it to 150, I think. 150. And press OK. So it shoots down to the correct size. So now we're going to come up here and see where it says cut. So we're going to highlight that and go engrave. Engrave and scanning, same thing. So now we come onto this area again and double click, and it brings up this wizard. Now I want quite a dark image. So 200. This laser normally runs about 400 millimeters per second, but I want a darker image, so I'm going to run it at 200. This is probably a little too high, so I'm going to go 30. Now this is 30% output of the power supply to the laser. In actual fact, it's not 30 or 40% of the laser output, and in fact this is about 60% of the laser. So it's going to be about 60 watts, and this will be about 50 watts, something like that. Now, scan gap. Now this is how far the laser is going to progress after each movement across. For this is, you know, a lowish resolution, so I'm going to lower that down a little tiny bit. I'm going to put 0.1 of a millimeter there is fine for this sort of low resolution. Engrave blowing. Always have engrave blowing on. Bidirection, in other words, you want the laser to fire from left to right and then right to left. We're not interested in setting an XY position, so we're just going to say OK, calculate. So now we can come up here and simulate it. Now the black area is how far the laser is going to scan to. So, you know, it's sort of, from here it will accelerate up to speed. Then at this point it's doing 200 millimeters a second, and it will fire in the red area and switch off, and it's still traveling at 200 millimeters a second, and fire again when it hits this red, and so on and so forth. Then when it passes the last piece of red on this line, then the laser will start to slow down and stop and then change direction and come back. So that's what the black is showing us here, how far the laser is going to actually sweep. But it is only going to fire in the red areas. Okay, so that's a scan. So now we are going to do a trace. So I'm going to say a new job. I'm not going to save it because I've got a different computer with this on. Nope. So now we import, and this time it's a different file. This time it's a DXF file. Now I used Carveco to put this together, and there it is there. What's that about? Let's set it the same size. size locked 150 and okay. Okay, there it is. Alright, I think my computer's doing a bit of an update in the background. So now we come up here and where it says engraving, we left click and press cut, because cutting and tracing, it's all the same thing. In other words, you want the laser to follow this vector, okay, and actually burn the material as it goes to trace this object. So you set it to cut, double click, okay. So work speed, now that is the speed in which the laser is going to travel on the material. That's 20 millimeters per second. That's getting along. That's it's going to be thrashing around a bit, so it'll do it. 42. Let me see. This really is only for cutting. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this at I think 35. And the same here, 35. It's Saturday morning and I have people sending me messages all over the place. So this is going to be set at 35. Actually, I'm going to set this all down at 30. 35 I think would be too much. We'll try it out at 33, 30, I meant to put there. 30. And we'll make that 30. And we'll also make this all 30. So in other words, you want the laser to be at a constant power output. Whether it's just starting, which means this, the laser's just firing up onto the material, whether it's going into a corner or whether you're going along in a straight line. You don't want it to go above you want it a constant level. And we'll see how that works. Always blowing and calculate. Let's see how that works for us. And this is exactly what the laser is going to do. This is the path it's going to follow. Not as quick as this, but fascinating to watch. And there it is, finished. Okay, so now we'll go over to the laser and we'll see what happens.